Thank you very much. I've just had a moment of sheer panic because I just realized I don't speak German. I hope you guys weren't expecting me to speak German because it's not going to happen. So thank you very much for the warm welcome. I appreciate it. So I'm here tonight to talk about my favorite movie, Jurassic Park. And I could talk about this movie for literally hours. But I've tried to condense a whole load of theory about filmmaking into 20 minutes, and I'm hoping it's going to make sense to you guys. So I'm a designer. I work for a bunch of different organizations, from studios like Netflix all the way through to NASA. I'm a multidisciplinary designer, which means I work across different fields. And I've worked on projects and games and films that you might have heard of, such as Horizon Zero Dawn as a world builder, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare for Activision, where I was a level designer, Blade Runner, where I was a conceptual designer, which is building and designing the world of the film. And more recently, I was a strategist and production designer for Love, Death, and Robots. What I do generally is visual. So I create visual designs ranging from trying to imitate how an ancient tribe might create a piece of woodwork, all the way through to trying to imitate how aerospace engineers might create vehicles in the future. But what kind of underlies this design process is an abstract attempt to try and reverse engineer complex things using kind of problem solving. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I decided to try and put that kind of design ideology into decoding films. And the first film I decided to try and analyze and decode was Jurassic Park, partly because I love this movie, but also partly because around 2015, this film was released, which is a sequel to Jurassic World. And I was a little bit confused when I watched it because I basically didn't enjoy it. And what was strange to me was that on the surface of these two movies, they appear to be the same. They have the same cinematography, the same shots, a lot of the same subjects. They have eggs, they have dinosaurs hatching, characters. They have cinematography, they have dinosaurs, they have eyes, they have action sequences, they have fights. They have pretty much everything you would expect when you're trying to emulate something that's got high quality. But yet, when I finished Jurassic World, I felt basically empty. And when I finished Jurassic Park, I don't feel empty. And I was trying to work out why that was. So what I decided to do was try and understand how do great stories work, and that took me down a rabbit hole of a lot of different subjects, ranging from neuroscience through to psychology, through to mythology. And I want to talk to you about what I kind of discovered over the last few years that I hope might actually help everyone in this room tell better stories for themselves. So for me, a story is a lot like a bridge. When you're on a bridge and you're looking at it from the perspective of driving across it, a bridge is very simple. It's a road surface and it's some handrails. But if you move your perspective, you'll realize pretty quickly that the bridge you're driving upon is actually a very complicated engineering marvel. It's got a lot of principles being used to make sure this bridge stands up. Much the same way a story does, although it's different ingredients. Now, if you don't have those engineering principles in place, this hidden architecture, then your bridge is going to collapse. And the same is true of a story. If you just decide that you're going to make a road surface without any underlying architecture, then it's going to fail. So the hidden architecture of storytelling is psychology. And this guy, Carl Jung, once I started to study him, began to illuminate a lot of principles. And there was another guy as well that was very important, but I don't have time to cover him, called Joseph Campbell, who was one of the kind of leading figures in decoding mythology. But they both agreed that the hidden architecture of the psyche was actually connected deeply to the stories that we tell. So specifically, mythological stories, stories that have survived for thousands of years. And what they realized was that even though these stories to us as modern people seem kind of outdated and they seem a little bit old and a little bit irrelevant, they actually contain all sorts of hidden wisdom that we just don't understand anymore because we have a modern world that doesn't understand gods in the clouds and sandals and warriors and all that kind of stuff. But one of the components of great mythology is this concept called the allegory. And an allegory is a form of story that can be interpreted to reveal a psychological meaning. And the Greeks called this polysemic storytelling, which is that when there's two layers, or maybe even more layers to a story, where there's kind of an interlocking of different ideas at different levels. And when I discovered this, it kind of triggered something that made me realize that actually Jurassic Park is an allegory. And once I kind of made that realization, I started to analyze it, and I started to decode it, and I put these on YouTube, and that led to me working for Netflix and Warner Brothers. And I want to kind of show you what the hidden aspect of Jurassic Park is that will help you understand why it connects with you at this level and not at this level, and why it's a much deeper story than it appears to be. So I'm going to quickly show you a quick clip, which is the question that's being raised that the film will go on to answer for the entire duration of the story. If there was sound. I mean, I could try and act out their lines, but I don't think it would be very convincing.
Kids. You want to have one of those?
I don't want that kid, but a breed of child, Dr. Grant, could be intriguing. I mean, what's so wrong with kids?
Oh, Ellie, look, they're noisy, they're messy, they're expensive.
Cheap.
They smell.
They do not
Some of them smell.
Oh,
Babies smell.
Now, the arrival of that helicopter at that particular point is actually a major feature of mythology. It's called the Herald. And in mythology, what happens is that when a major story question is asked, some force will arrive that's going to take the characters on a quest where they can discover the answer to the question that they're about to argue about. And in this case, it's, are we ready to have children? Now, in order to tell this story, Jung proposes that you need to have archetypes. And archetypes are pretty abstract, but I'm going to kind of introduce them briefly, but then we'll just unpack them using the film. So archetypes are a primitive image inherited from the earliest human ancestors that is present in the collective unconscious. Pretty wordy, so I'm gonna ask you instead to imagine that archetypes, which is effectively images that trigger something in your heart, are like cookies. They are cookies for your unconscious. And I want you to imagine that your unconscious is the Cookie Monster. Now, if you feed the Cookie Monster cookies, he's going to be very happy. And if you don't feed him cookies, he's going to be very miserable. So when you're telling a story, you need to have cookies. So I'm going to take you through some of the most basic archetypes and try and unpack them a little bit. So the most fundamental archetypal images are chaos and order, because these are the two principles we're constantly fighting within our life. You have insurance policies because you want to prepare yourself for chaos. You want to make plans so that you don't miss out on opportunities. You want to make sure that your children have every opportunity, so you provide a structured, organized world for them. We organize our world on avoiding chaos at all times. And when a story contains the concept of chaos and order, we immediately understand it when it's embodied as people or as forces. Now, for thousands of years, we've been representing chaos as a personified devil. And order is personified as a protective father figure that makes sure that everything is safe for us. Because these are the most intuitive images that we have. We don't want to be taken over by an aggressive devil, and we do want to have someone provide structure for us. Now, in Jurassic Park, these images are replaced with a chaotician, who's a mathematician, and here's John Hammond. He is our God figure, and he is attempting to bring life into being underneath a well-lit halo in his own magical island. And just to show you just how indented this concept is into the film, I'm going to show you a quick edit of these guys interacting throughout the movie that relate to them being the devil and God.
Who in God's name do you think you are?
John Hammond. I own an island. Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
John doesn't subscribe to chaos, particularly what it has to say about his little science project.
Odd swallow Ian.
I insist on being here when they're born. Helps them to trust me. I can tell instantly about people. It's a gift. I don't blame people for their mistakes, but I do ask that they pay for them.
Thanks, Dad.
I've been present for the birth of every little creature on this island.
Well,
I wish you wouldn't do
Dr.
that.
Sadler, Dr. Grant, you've heard of chaos theory?
I bring scientists, you bring a rock star.
Hello? Hello? Yes?
I really hate that man.
So Spielberg is using the symbol of the idea of the devil and God to personify forces that we all relate to. You can't touch chaos, you can't touch order, but we all live with those forces constantly. The other forces that are really primary to the archetypal system they're that patterns of behavior that we all understand really intuitively. So for example, let's take some qualities and bundle them together in a cookie. We've got stern, controlling, protective. In psychology, this is known as the father archetype, and it's got nothing to do with gender. Anyone can exhibit these emotional patterns. And then there's feeding, nurturing, and soothing, and this is known as the mother archetype. Now, independently, these two forces are pretty useful, but as a whole human being, what we should aspire to is to have both of them. So what Jung recognized is that if you're born with the genetic predisposition of being female, then you have to discover your dormant animus, which is the masculine aspect of you, which is buried. And if you're a man, you have to develop your anima, which is the feminine aspect that you haven't developed. And the idea is that we go through psychological development in order to have balanced psyches. And the reason we need to do that is because you're not going to be a good parent if you only exhibit one set of those patterns. So what we've got in Jurassic Park is we've got the female with the underlying masculine aspect. We've got the male with the undeveloped male aspect, feminine aspect. We have chaos and we have order. And they are all embodied in these characters. We have the outer pink of Ellie with the inner blue of the masculine. We have the outer blue of Alan with the inner red of the feminine. And then we have chaos and we have order. And the basic interaction of these characters is going to be understandable to us because they're archetypal. So you see human beings. Cookie Monster doesn't see human beings. Cookie Monster sees very tasty humans, very tasty cookies. So what a story aims to do is first establish these archetypes, and then it shows how when they interact, the best way for them to end is to be balanced. And that's what a story does, is show you the equilibrium of all these forces. So with that in mind, I'm going to take you through a quick summary of Jurassic Park, looking at it not at the surface level, but through the hidden architecture level, and show you how Spielberg has embedded themes in the story that you didn't even necessarily know because your Cookie Monster was eating it, but you weren't. So a symbolic journey to parenthood. So our film starts, and we have this couple that are arguing over the idea, or haven't yet started arguing over the idea of having children. And they're out in the desert, very biblical, and they're looking at what looks like a scan of a dinosaur. But actually, this is making you start to bring up the idea of an ultrasound scan. And at this exact point, a little annoying kid arrives. And the little annoying kid challenges Alan and makes Alan show what he thinks about kids. And he's not best pleased with kids. He doesn't like the idea of children because he's an intellectual predator, and he loves velociraptors because he models himself on them. So this sparks an argument. The two discuss whether they should have kids, and at the point where it's going to become a conflict, a mysterious mythical force from the sky arrives in his flying chariot and offers them an opportunity that he thinks is going to be fantastic to explore the possibilities of life. He then flies them away across the oceans to a mythical island. This is sounding fairly biblical at this point, or at least very Greek. And he makes them envisage and see the miracle of life itself. And not only that, he says, I'm going to show you how we make life. So he takes them to his little hatchery, which is a little fertility clinic that he's made. And in that fertility clinic is his little angels that are creating life. And the two get to witness the miracle of childbirth. And at this exact point, what arrives out of nowhere? 2 children. And the 2 children are not coincidentally mirror images of our protagonists. Because what we're about to see is them being confronted with what will happen if they have children. So they then go into Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park is allegorical, and I'll explain that at the end. But the park itself is not about a physical place, it's about a psychological place. And the first dinosaur they come across is not there because it looks cool. It's there because it actually shows a very specific psychological feature, which is the instinct of maternal care. And watch this scene, and now watch it through the lens of seeing this as being confirmation that Ellie is ready to have kids, and listen to the dialogue.
Oh my God. Hey, baby girl.
She was my favorite when I was a kid. Now I see she's the most beautiful thing I ever saw.
So what Spielberg is doing is he's associating the idea of them witnessing this dinosaur with childbirth. She says, hey, baby girl, and he says, she's the most beautiful thing I ever saw. He then continues to listen to it as if it's a pregnant stomach. And she then goes to take maternal care and pile her entire hand in a big pile of dung, which is the same thing that parents do when they look after children. Notice that Alan isn't exactly thrilled by this idea, off screen on the left. So in order for Alan to confront the reality of becoming a parent, he has to confront what Jung calls the shadow. And the shadow is your internal instincts that will force you to become the person you could be. And that comes in the form of the T-Rex. So the T-Rex, as a dinosaur, is there to instill the parental instincts of Alan, which is why he discovers fire. And then even the way that he interacts with the dinosaur is that he plays fetch with it, much like a family dog. So in mythology, the idea of a dragon being in a cave that you steal gold from is a constant feature of St. George, for example, and even The Hobbit. And the idea of this is that you're confronting the psychological force of your own inner lizard, because part of your brain has the same framework as lizards do. It's called the reptilian complex. It's one of the oldest parts of your mammalian brain. So in this case, our big dragon has been replaced with a big T-Rex. So Alan then goes on to take maternal care of the kids and realizes that this association with a velociraptor is not for him. This is what he was using it for at the beginning, and he chucks it away. Meanwhile, God and the devil are deciding that actually collaboration is way more useful than fighting, because there are more important things than being right. And this is another feature of mythology, is that extreme control and extreme chaos, and neither of them are good. It's about finding a compromise in the middle. And Ellie, who is ready for maternal care, is confronted with the concept of masculine threat, where she has to take on an intellectual predator. And Alan, at the same time, is creating a further bond with the children, where he literally and mythically and metaphorically breathes life into Tim, therefore becoming a quasi-father figure. But in the background, as you can see in this image, there's still the lurking aspect of his old character, which he needs to confront in order to move on to be a good father. And that's what happens. He confronts the velociraptor and takes sides with the family. And at the point where he takes sides with the family, in psychology, this is called integrating the shadow. The thing that he was afraid of in the first scene suddenly becomes his ally, because when you discover and you confront the things that you're afraid of, you actually internalize them and realize that they can be of help to you. So the question at the beginning of the story is, you want one of those? And the answer comes with this visual at the end. So this is what the Cookie Monster really loves to see, and it's very important that he has these cookies and their interactions together. If you mix all these dynamics up as archetypes, then you're going to get a great experience. Now, I'm going to show you a quick clip of exactly how my particular Cookie Monster experiences this movie.
Oatmeal cookie, it means whole lot to me. Cookie! Chocolate chip cookie, it means whole lot to me. Me not want to make this butter cookie feel bad. Cowabunga! This gingerbread cookie, very important too. Cookie, cookie, cookie! Me love cookie!
Right, I'm against the clock now, so here we go. So I started to study this film because Jurassic World didn't touch any of these Cookie Monster buttons for me. It didn't make me feel satisfied. And then it made me think, what's Jurassic World doing? And I want to now show you a featurette from the movie that shows the focus of the movie. Now, Jurassic Park is about qualitative stuff. That's the hidden architecture. What Jurassic World does is it simply takes the data that they've extracted from the first film and makes it quantitative. And that means more. More what? More dinosaurs. They have no understanding of archetypes, so what they do is instead replace archetypal storytelling with lots of dinosaurs. And here's a featurette that's promoting Jurassic World that I have not edited. This is actually what they believe the fans want.
In this Jurassic World, you will see more dinosaurs
everywhere.
So the focus is slightly different. And I now want to show you how my personal Cookie Monster experienced that featurette.
Dum 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 dum. Oh boy, cookie jar. Oh boy, full of cookies. Me going to eat cookie. Me happy just to think of eating cookies. Oh boy, oh boy.
In this Jurassic World, you will see more dinosaurs than you've ever seen before.
We have the Mosasaurus. We have the T-Rex.
We have a Baryonyx in this movie. We have a Carnotaurus. We have a Stygimoloch.
We just all love the Stygimoloch. The Carnotaurus fights the Sinoceratops.
Where we had so many dinosaurs in the same frame that we had to make the frame bigger.
Cowabunga! Cookie jar empty! No cookies! Oh, me so sad!
You will see more dinosaurs than you've ever seen in all the other Jurassic movies combined.
Me so sad! Wait. There's one cookie left!
Here I am talking about dinosaurs again?
Oh, no! Oh, now me did it! This cookie eating very emotionally draining.
So I want to talk about Jurassic Park because it's a perfect example of the hidden architecture being used in the best possible way. And the reason I want to talk about it is because it's not immediately clear what's happening with a film like that. We all know it's about family, we've all seen it, but ultimately it goes way, way deeper than necessarily people realize. And I mentioned the idea that when they enter Jurassic Park, it's not actually about a physical reality, it's about something psychological. So this is the map of Isla Nublar, and this whole world is a creation of Michael Crichton. And you may notice that the layout of this map looks slightly peculiar, and if you look at a brain, you'll see that actually they overlay directly, because what actually the story is about is a guided tour through the psyche, and that's a guided tour of the different areas from your intellectual to your instinctive aspect. Michael Crichton also wrote Westworld, and Westworld also has its own hidden architecture. If you're a fan of the show, you may notice that instead of Hammond running the park, there's a guy called Dr. Ford running the park. And Dr. Ford is a loose reinterpretation of Dr. Freud, because Westworld is a dramatization, allegorically, of the process of Freudian psychodynamics. So these great storytellers, what they're actually doing is tapping into a really powerful hidden architecture. Now, I'm running over. Do I have time for like one more video? Yeah, all right. So I just want to show you one clip now, which is one of my favorite scenes from anything, and it's from Westworld. And it's actually the writers literally putting on screen exactly what I'm talking about, which is what happens when producers misunderstand what the story is about. And what stories are about is helping us understand who we could become. So, Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park because it contains the hidden architecture of mythology, allegory, metaphor, archetypes, morality, responsibility, psychology, and subtext. And I don't like Jurassic World because it contains Chris Pratt, dinosaurs, 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 and dinosaurs. I would love to see the world tell more of this and less of this, which is why I kind of talked about this today. And I hope that that was useful. So thank you very much. I'm going to take a quick selfie. Thank you.